Hi guys, it's me, XOXO Michael, and first off, happy Pride Month. Woo! What a good month. And today, since June being Pride Month, I'm gonna tell you my coming out story, which, it was a long journey. I shouldn't say story, I should say journey, because that's what it truly was. A journey. So, let's start with little Michael, or wee lad Michael, tiny Michael. Starting off, I was always super little, like with my aunt, playing with her hair, loving it, and I always said I was gonna be a hairstylist. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a hairstylist. I love playing with hair, it's so much fun, I'm gonna do that. And I just kind of pushed it away, and like elementary school started, and I loved school. I was like, I love this, I love my friends, even though I was made fun of, which is a whole nother story that's not going to be brought into this one. And I loved it. And I loved one kid. Little Michael was like, ooh, dang, who are you? You fine. And let's give him a code. Let's call him, Daniel. So Daniel was my crush from like kindergarten all the way through high school. We were in the same class, and I thought, oh my god, he's so cute. His parents always were in there. It was iconic. They were iconic. His parents were super sweet and everything. And I was like, you're cute. And then like first grade, we were still in the same class. Kindergarten, I believe, was the year I hit him with a lunchbox because he cut me in line to go to the bathroom, and I really had to pee. I remember it like it was nothing. And our principal saw it and goes, Michael, come to my office. So I was like, I have to pee. So she let me go pee, and then I had to go to her office. I got a restricted lunch, first one I ever got, and I was like, my mom's gonna kill me. But it was fine, it was fun. Whatever. Well, in elementary school, High School Musical came out, and I loved it. It came out around the right time of like 2006, I believe. I would have been like a first or second grader, and I loved it. Zac Efron, first crush. Still a crush, but like Troy Bolton, dang. And I loved all the High School Musical movies. I had the bed set. I had a pink pillow that I got for Christmas, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. High School Musical, still my jam. And one night, I was around, the Transformers had just come out, and I was at my aunt's house with my brother and two of my cousins, Lee, Jake, and Johnny, and my Aunt Amy, and she had been drinking. We were having a fire. And she was like, no guys, you can't try it, you're too little, and like, so we're kind of sneaking around, taking some of her drink. And my cousin goes, I'm gonna be a male stripper one day. And I was like, haha. And then like, they got on the topic of Megan Fox, and I was like, I personally don't find Megan Fox cute. Like, I don't still. And my aunt goes, what? I would have sex with Megan Fox. And she says from that point on, she has known that I was gay. But like, 7-year-old Michael didn't find her cute. 18-year-old Michael doesn't find her cute. Like, and she kind of held it in until I came out. She was like, oh, I've known since you were Megan Fox years old. I was like, Aunt Amy, leave me alone. And like 4th grade, High School Musical was still a big thing. 4th grade was a big year because you're going to a new school for us, and it was kind of scary. Like, am I gonna have my friends still, even if I'm contemplating who I really am? And I still crushing on Daniel hardcore, still crushing on him. My gay little heart didn't flutter away. I was like, me and you one day. Middle school, pretty boring. Nothing really happened. He was still in most of my classes, same teams. He was a football player. I was like, dreaming of him, not doing math homework because he was in there, and I was just gawking at him. Had to get moved to a different math because I was suffering in math because all I would do is look at him. Well, I had to switch math, so he wasn't in there anymore. Pretty sad day. And then 6th and 7th grade, very uneventful. Nothing else. So here comes 8th grade. 8th grade's the year you can be in the big locker room, which had the bigger lockers, the nicer lockers. but only for sports people, which at that time, I played Special Olympics basketball, and I was like, ooh, maybe I can get one. And our PE teacher, Mr. Langhoff's like, yeah, Michael, you can have one, like, you play a sport. And that same year, I still hate this kid. I don't hate him. I strongly dislike this kid. Was in my tap class, which is like homeroom, and he was always rude, always making comments, shoving me. I had the privilege of being his locker neighbor for actual school and PE. I'm like, God damn it, how the hell did I get this lucky? And he had one of his friends shove me and say, stop looking at me, faggot. And I was like, that was the first time I'd really ever been called a faggot. And it kind of hurt. I was like, no one knows. Like, do they all know? Like, second guessing everything I've done leading up to that point in my life. And I'm like, they shouldn't know. Like, and that kid since has apologized, which felt pretty nice. Like, thanks for apologizing, but like, it's still wrong. Whatever. Well, freshman year. Freshman year was a rough one. My grandma had passed away. Big school. I was in a PE with only one other freshman, and everyone else were sophomores. My brother was on my PE, so it was pretty nice, second semester. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I think I can do this. The teacher, I love her to death, Sheila Quilty. We homegirl still. And I remember second hour, we were outside. It was Drew and Courtney. Ashley might have been there. I don't really remember. I don't really talk to any of them anymore. But we were all walking together because we hated Wednesdays. Hated them because it was cardio. And they made us run the track, and we were like, no, Quilty, we're not doing it. And Quilty looks at me and says, Michael, you know one day you're going to make a girl really happy with that nub. And winked. I was like, no, no more. And I was like, okay. Not going to say I'm not going to date a girl because I don't want my secret out. And 7th hour was always my favorite hour because I had my favorite teacher, Mrs. Eskridge. I still love her to death. Like, she is a phenomenal woman and has been. And that's where I met Jasmine. Jasmine was really the first person I had met personally that wasn't a family member that was gay. I had only ever met one other one, and he was my cousin. And I'd seen how my family treated him, so I knew I hoped they were okay with it. If I was to come out and when I was to come out, I hoped they'd be okay with it. Well, Jasmine was the first person I had come out to, thanks to videos online of coming out stories. The one I remember the most is Marky Miller's coming out story, and it kind of stuck to me. I was like, I'm gonna do this one day. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it. And I watched it, I think 10 times in one night, crying, like, what am I gonna do if they don't accept me? What am I gonna do? Where am I gonna live? And I told Jasmine, I was like, hey, can I talk to you? Like, she knew where I was coming from, being a lesbian. She had come out. And I was like, can I talk to you? She said, of course. What's up, honey? And like, I love you, and what's wrong? Like, I'm like, I'm gay. She goes, I know. And that helped. But she was like, are you okay? That was the first thing she asked. And I said, I think so. And it was kind of like a little brick lifted off of me, of these billions of bricks I had piled on my shoulders. It was like one of which that was picked off. And it felt amazing. I was like, wow, I think I can do this. And then my friend, like some of the other seniors in that class were like, I had told her name was Maddie, and we were talking a lot, and she goes, honey, it's fine. Like, everyone's gonna love you still. You're Michael. Like, who can't love Michael? Like, first you have to love you, though, which is a great message that I still wish and I still listen to every day. Like, if I can't love me, how am I supposed to love anyone? Because if I can't put love into myself, I can't put anything into anyone else, because I have to love myself and treasure myself more than I can anyone. So I always hear that in my head, like, you are loved. And right after she had told me, like, it's fine. And I was like, and then I told the only out kid that I had known, his name was Adam. It was my summer of sophomore year. I'm like, hey, Adam, can I talk to you? Like, kind of see where he was coming from. He grew up in the small town I did, not really knowing anything different. Like, Canton, love this place, but like, I've got to get out type of thing. Like, if you aren't the same, if you don't play sports or have a good last name, you're not going to be accepted here, which I didn't do either. So I was scared that I was not going to be accepted. So I was at that point, I was like, I'm not going to come out. I'm not happening. Nope, no. No. And Adam was like, you can't force yourself to come out until you're ready mentally and physically. And that took me a while. Like, sophomore year was probably the best year for me, and worst, all in one. The summer I had told a lot of my friends, but I was always too scared to tell them in person. So I texted them most of the time on Snapchat, which the delete messages would delete right after, so I was not scared. I wasn't nervous that my secret was going to come out, because it disappeared. And I remember the first friend I texted was my best friend that lived across the street at the time. Like, we knew everything about each other, like, but she didn't know my secret, and I had to tell her. I was like, Hannah, can I tell you something? Like, awake in my room at night with my phone under my blanket, just texting her on Snapchat. And she goes, yeah, what's up? I'm like, I'm gay, but please don't tell anyone. And I made them reassure me several times that they wouldn't tell, because I was terrified of my secret coming out and people knowing without me telling them. And she was like, I love you, it's fine. Who do you like? And I made her guess, and I was like, this kid named Daniel. Like, she knew the code name, because only you guys don't. And if you know me, you know them. And then I started texting other people, like one of my closest friends, Abby. I was like, hey, I gotta tell you something, but please don't tell anyone, promise me. And she's like, what? I'm like, I'm gay. She goes, nuh-uh, you're joking, nuh-uh. I was like, yeah, Abby, I like boys, like, no, I like boys. And then I texted one of my close, like, my best friend at this point, Lainey. I was like, yo, I gotta tell you something. Like, me and Lainey weren't, like, super close at that point, but, like, we talked every day in band, because we played the same instrument, we were the same grade. She goes, yeah, what's up? And, like, honestly, looking back at it, Lainey could have been the one I told in person, because Lainey's Lainey. She's gonna love you regardless. And that's one of the things I love most about that girl, is because she'll be honest with you, and she's the cutest person ever, like, and she's like, oh, that's okay, thanks. And then I told one of my friends, Riley, and we've talked about this recently, and when I texted her, she was praying that, because we had known each other through a mutual friend named Parker, and I was like, she's like, when she was telling me about it, she's like, I was scared you were going to tell me you were in love with me, and I was going to have to break your heart because you were too cute and I couldn't date you. I was like, oh. And she was like, so she's like, what? I'm like, I'm gay. She goes, and she told her family right away, which I was okay with. Like, I didn't talk to any of them, and they're like, yeah, obviously you just now figured this out. And Riley's like, nuh-uh, my Nubby isn't gay. I'm like, and yes, I'm gay, Riley. You know that now. And we talk about it all the time. So summer band started. After I told a lot of my friends I was gay, that same process, the same summer we got a new band teacher. Hate the man. Couldn't stand the man. Whole nother story. And Abby and Lainey and I walked in together, and Abby looks at Lainey and smiles. And I'm like, they're going to start talking about it, and I don't want that. I'm like, shh. And Abby goes, do you know what I know? And Lainey goes, I think so, looks at me and smiles. I'm like, yes, she knows, so shh. And then we didn't really talk about it. Like, we'd make looks at people during lunch and but like, we didn't really talk about it. And at that point, I was super close friends with this girl. I don't want to say her name because she did me wrong. But, we were like best friends. I stayed the night always at her house. We always hung out. We were really close. We did projects together for English, sat right next to each other, had inside jokes still that I still use, and it pains me a little bit to think about who I made those with, but I was like, whatever, like, this is funny. Welcome, W-H-A-L-E-C-U-M, that's funny. So I still use it till this day. And I was like, and she had told her biology class, which Daniel was in, and before that, me and Daniel were talking, like, back and forth, like, how was your break? What's up? Like, how are you? And all this. I'm like, I'm good, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. I was the one obviously starting it, because I was oblivious to the fact that maybe he is gay, maybe he will like me, because I had all those dreams and wishes, and I wished on stars and dandelions, like a hopeless fool. And she told him. And it broke my heart that she could just say it because she knew how I felt about him. And it was in biology with one of the teachers I'm super close with now. And she was like, they were doing Punnett squares. And they were doing it on sexuality. So you were either gay or straight on theirs. And she looks at Daniel and goes, well, I'd be gay because she was bisexual. And he goes, haha. And she goes, well, Michael would be straight white because he's gay. And we were talking at that time. And then I got home. And I didn't get to see anything. Like, we couldn't message anything. I was like, something happened. Something has happened. And I was like, what did you do? And she wouldn't tell me. And then I got it out of her, and she was like, well, it just slipped. It's fine. No one knows. Only my table and spoon. And probably the rest of my bio. That's not okay. At all. I'm like, that wasn't your secret to tell. At all. And thanks. Thanks for that. And like the start of sophomore year, I'm going a little back, I was nominated for sophomore homecoming attendant. And I didn't win, which kind of hurt. I was like, ooh, maybe I could win. Like, maybe people like me, I think. And then that happened, which took me down to a whole nother level. I was like, super depressed. So sophomore year was probably my worst year of fighting with my depression, which is a whole nother video. And I was fighting it, and I had contemplated it, killing myself, because I'm like, if my best friend can't keep my secret, who's going to? Like, that's fucked up. And then that April, I live in Illinois, so it's like super bad storms usually in April and May. And I looked at my cousin Destiny, and we just got alerts. Weather alarms were going off, tornado sirens were going off, and I looked at her, and I'm like, I'm gay, Des. Just spit it out. I'm gay. And she goes, nuh-uh. I'm like, well, we need to get to the basement, and then we'll talk about it. We didn't go to the basement. We stayed upstairs. And she's like, no, you're not. And I showed her my yearbooks with Daniel's face in a heart. And I was like, yes, I am, Des. She goes, well, what about Jennifer Lawrence? I'm like, it's called a cover-up. Like, Jennifer Lawrence is hot. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But Josh Hutcherson is hotter. And she was like, okay, whatever. And so, like, she was accepting of it. And I was like, okay, that makes me feel better. That my cousin knows and, like, she's accepting. So at that point, I was willing and ready to tell another cousin. And I told Alana, I'm like, yo, sis, you want to hear some gossip? And I told her, and I was like, but don't tell anyone. She goes, I promise I won't tell. It's not my place. So I told a lot sophomore year. And I had always told my friends junior year that we go to prom junior or senior year, or freshman, sophomore year if you get asked by a junior or senior. And I'd always said, I'm not going to junior or senior prom unless I get asked by a boy. If I have a boyfriend, I will go. But I won't go otherwise. And then me and my close friend Molly went to lunch 9 times out of 10. And everyone thought we were dating. It was kind of weird. I'm like, we're not dating. Like, she's my friend. They're like, nah. Like, not everyone knew I was gay, I guess. And I'm like, nah. And she was like, if you ask me to homecoming, I'll ask you to prom. And so we did. I did. And I was like, okay, I'll go to prom. I'll go. I made it on the prom Prince ballad. Didn't win. Story of my life, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But I went, and the week up to prom, coming up, like, we already filled out all the paperwork, we already did everything, like, we were going, but she'd still yet to ask me. I'm like, Molly, are you ever gonna ask me? And then the day she asked me, she's like, okay, I have to go home and do some chores, and then I'll come get you, and we can hang out. I said, okay, whatever. So she goes home, does her chores, and comes gets me, and then we go back to her house, and she lives on this really pretty, like, farm area, and it's beautiful. And she goes, we're gonna take pictures here, here, and here, and points at her barn. And on the barn was in rainbow lettering, prom ? And I had read it at first, and then I looked at her, and I was like, what? And then I looked at it again, and I was like, yes! And, like, so I obviously knew we were going together, but, like, I had been asked, thankfully. And so, like, we were going, and she goes, well, it's rainbow because you're gay and I love you. So, like, that, it helped. And, like, sophomore year, everyone was figuring it out. Like, junior year, everyone I feel like knew. And I was in this class called Parenting with a girl named Karen Winter. Love her to death. She's amazing. And I will never quit loving Karen. She's a phenomenal person, almost as phenomenal as the teacher we had, which her name was Jamie Trotter. And she was really the first lesbian that I'd met as a teacher, and I want to be a teacher. But I was scared as a gay man I would be a bad teacher. And she crushed it. She was a foods teacher and a parenting teacher, so home ec basically. And Karen looks at me, and it was homecoming week. I had just asked Molly the day before, and she looks at me and goes, and she got asked that day, the day before too, and she goes, I'm gonna wear this bow tie that I made. That's the color of the inside of vagina. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, yeah, Karen, yeah. Sure, like, obviously I have no idea what she's talking about. And so we're talking about it and like she's gonna wear, what I'm gonna wear. And Trotter looks at a student who says, like, Michael Dean knows what the inside of vagina looks like. And I didn't hear it, and she didn't bring it up for years to come, and I was like, yeah, that's true, I don't know what it looks like. And it helped, though. It was like, Trotter knows, and I had Trotter for a lot of classes, and I loved her. So senior year comes. Senior year is the most important year. It's like the last year before you go to college. It's kind of your last hurrah. And my senior year felt kind of weird. Like, I didn't know how I felt about everything. Like, what I was going to do, I was in the air about 2 different careers, which is another story. And I was just nervous. And we have this thing called Mr. Little Giant, which I'd always saw and I always wanted to do it. It's a male beauty pageant. Like, that's a very Michael thing. So I did it. And the date was February 1st, 2018. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I wrote a note for it. And, so we had to write speeches for different parts, because there was 3 parts: a sportswear, a talent, and a formal wear. My sportswear, I did a High School Musical dance in a tutu, a wig, dressed full Sharpay to 3 Sharpay songs I can speak, to Bop to the Top, I Want It All, and Fabulous. Like, those are phenomenal Sharpay songs. I climbed to a ladder at the end and went, ugh, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. Then comes my talent, and I made a story up as I was painting, and the painting said "Dare to be different," because that was kind of my thing, being a kid with one hand and closeted gay, that some people know but not everyone knows. And so here comes my formal wear speech, and the guy reads it as you're like strutting your stuff in your fancy sponsored suit, and it was awesome. And actually, back to talent. That's when I noticed the judge in the blue t-shirt, who was hecka cute. Hecka cute. So I'm like, hey, you, cute guy in the blue shirt, front row, pick a color. And like, no one caught it really until Scoon caught it. And I was gonna write in my speech for formal wear, and this is why and like, I was gonna come out, I was gonna write something: roses are red, clouds are gray, so what I like men, so yeah, I'm gay. But I didn't. It wasn't the time I felt. And then I had a question I had to answer. And it was, if you could meet 2 people, who would it be and why? And I picked 3, and one of which was Ellen. And I had known if I got that question, why I was going to say it. And I was going to say, well, because she's a lesbian and I'm gay and she could teach me stuff. And I didn't. I said, well, because she's Dory. Duh. Missed opportunity. But it's fine. Well, I walked off stage. I didn't win. It's fine. Then the next day, it was a Friday, in biomed, Scoon looks at me, and, well, I asked my best friend to prom in my speech, so that was kind of a balance. So I was hoping maybe everyone would forget about the comment I made about the cute judge. She didn't. She goes, cute guy in the blue shirt, huh? And I'm like, oh, Lainey said yes, blah, 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 blah. And, so I was able to brush it off, or so I thought. Not very good at brushing it off. And everything was good for a while. And then April 18th, the week before prom. Well, in the same class, biomed, second hour with Scoon. Every Wednesday was homeroom most of the time. And that time we had to go to the auditorium if you were going to prom. I was obviously going to prom with my best friend and my lab partner. He was cute, he was nice, I'll say his name, Caleb. He was pretty awesome. And I was like, hey, Scoon, can I wait back for Lainey so we can walk together? And she goes, yeah, sure. And Caleb goes, ooh, you're going to get some smoochy. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're going to get some smoochy. That's what you want to wait. I'm like, no, I just want to wait so I can walk with my best friend. And Scoon goes, his date's a girl. He goes, so he's going to get some smoochy. And Scoon goes, it's a girl. And he goes, so what do you mean, Scoon? He's going to get some smoochy. And she looks at him and goes, looks at me and smiles. And I'm like, pushing it out of it. And I was like, she's like, he's gay. And Caleb looks at me and goes, nuh-uh, Michael's Michael. Like, Michael likes girls. Like, he's gonna smoochy his prom date. That's why he's not going down with us. And Scoon goes, no, Michael's gay. And there were some people in that class that I had previously told. And they're like, you guys didn't know, which I guess I was kind of obvious with it. But I was like, I thought I was good at hiding it. I wasn't. And I come out to my classmates and everything. And I was like, this feels nice. And so they all knew. They were all like, you're gay? And I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 whatever. Daniel's best friend was in the class, who was also pretty cute. We shared a birthday. Pretty cool. He's a year older than me. We were talking, and Lainey shows up, and I'm like, oh, got to go, bye, deuces. So we walked down. I was also in the running for prom king. Didn't win. And then graduation came. Like, high school was over. I had talked to Eskridge, and I made a comment. I was like, I would love to have grown up in the 50s. Like, I love the 50s. It's awesome. Like, the styles, what teens got to do, but gay wasn't accepted. And Eskridge had made a comment. She was like, you wouldn't have liked it. You would not have wanted to grow up in the 50s. I'm like, yes, I would have. I would have loved it. I never told her. And then she brought a book in for me to read. And it was about Mike Pence, and it was about his bunny. And Mike Pence is super against gay marriage and everything. And he has a family bunny that it's all about him. And I love it. And it's a great book. And I'm going to buy it. I don't remember what it was called. And she let me read it. And she goes, listen to this. You are far more important than you think. And gave me a hug. And I cried. Then comes graduation. I gave everyone a hug. And, it was summer before college. Let's have a blast, woo! And my summer before college was fun. I loved every minute of it, drank a lot, shouldn't have. It was fine. And then I go to college. The school I go to is Northland College in Ashland, Wisconsin. Beautiful school, beautiful campus, very accepting. And I chose that school specifically because it felt so inclusive and accepting. And they force you to go on these dumb trips. It's called an OO trip, or outdoor orientation. It was stupid. Would never do it again. They're like, you're going to make your best friends on this trip, which I met 2 of my closest friends on that trip, so I can't say I didn't. But there was a kid that shit happened. I locked him out. I was sick of him making fun of me. So I locked him out of our cabin. And the next day we had to go canoeing. I was like, he goes, I hope that faggot can swim. I'm like, I can. Come at me. So that whole day it happened. We were supposed to stand out by the lake the whole day, but we didn't. The kids that I had locked out went and told their side of the story, and I didn't get to tell mine. And I was like, that's not okay. I'm telling my side of the story, and I did. And the kid apologized, and one of my leaders was gay, and I was like, if I would have known it would have been like this, I would have stayed at home, Drew. I would have stayed home. I would not have come. I would have stayed home. So once I was there, everyone knew. I didn't hide who I was when I got to college at all. I was like, this is me, accept it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Well, everyone did. And then I got a call, and it was right before Thanksgiving break. And one of my high school best friends, we're not friends at all anymore. We really don't even talk. Well, yeah, we're not friends. He had come out, and he was too scared to tell me, which hurt like hell. It was like a gun through my heart. I'm a bad friend, so he won't tell. And my best friend found out, who they had talked, and it was just a bad thing. And we're not friends anymore, and I was just heartbroken for my best friend. And I couldn't stand him at all. And that Christmas break, I kind of forced myself. Oh, I'm forgetting a huge part of the story. Back to sophomore year. My cousin showed me this song called the Coming Out song. I'll find it and link it down below. It was a phenomenal song, and I played it for my cousin Lainey while we were playing Clue. I'm like, I gotta tell you something, and she's fine with it. We still talk every day. But back to college now. time lapse, I'm sorry. I was talking to my mom. My mom had always made comments like, don't make jokes about your brother's sexuality, you don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, She had asked times before when I got upset when my brother would call me a faggot, before they'd known, and I was like, no, Mom, I don't know. I would cry myself to sleep watching these videos still before I came out to my family. Coming out videos are still one of my favorite things to watch, like how someone else came out. And it hurt to I'm scared to tell my family because I never got to tell my grandpa or grandma, who had both passed away before I got the chance to. And I was scared if I didn't tell them, then I would never tell them, because tomorrow's not always promised, and that's something you really need to learn in life, because it sucks. It really does if you don't get to tell. And I was talking to my mom on the ride, and we were going right by my elementary school where I met my first crush, Daniel. It was awesome. And I was crying like, this person is a piece of shit for what they did to my best friend. And she goes, well, what if he likes you? And I was like, I could never date him at all whatsoever. And we're going to Walmart at this point. And she was like, well, what would you, blah. And I'm like, yes, Mom, I would date other men, I'm gay. So it kind of come out, and she cried. She's like, I don't understand why you didn't tell us what's wrong and everything. And I'm like, it's fine, Mom. And like, before then, she was like, do you want me to tell your dad? I said, no, I will tell my dad. And I told my brother too, and I was like, keep your mouth shut, Leroy. It's not your secret to tell. He was like, it's fine, I still love you, you're my brother. Blah, 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 besides the point. So I tell my Aunt Erica and I, who are very close. She went shopping to get a new outfit for her grandpa's funeral. And we went to Lane Bryant. And I was like, ooh, I should get my boob size because I'm a drag queen. I'm like, maybe Brenda needs a new bra. And she goes, aren't most drag queens gay? And I'm like, yeah, Erica, I'm gay. She goes, I know. She did not know. She thought I was dating my roommate. We were not dating at all. Nothing. And then that same day I told my little cousin Michael. He goes, I accept you, cousin Mike, even though you're lying. Even if you're confused, I still love you. Even if you don't know what you're talking about. And still to this day, he thinks it's funny, and he's like, I know you're gay, but I'd like to make fun of you. I'm like, that's fine, I love it and make fun of you too. And then on the way home, my grandma took me home, and I told her, because she was like, well, maybe so-and-so likes you. I'm like, well, I could never date him, Grandma, I'm gay. And like, I was crying, and it was fine, she still loved and accepted me. And I was too scared to tell anyone in person. After telling my mom and dad, my brother and grandma in person, I was still too scared. So I texted my Uncle Mike, and I'm like, yo, Uncle Mike, I gotta tell you something. He goes, okay, dude, hurry up, my phone's about to die. And I fell asleep. And I'm like, I'm gay. You wanna hear what his response is? My favorite response. No shit. I've known for years. My favorite response to coming out. And I was like, well, okay. He goes, but I still love you. Does your dad know? Which my dad did not know yet. And I was too scared. I was scared, the most scared to tell my dad. But it was fine. Like, and then I told my Aunt Leslie, I'm like, yo, Aunt Les, I'm gay. She goes, it's fine, we love you guys. We still love you. And then it came to writing back one day. My dad we both make fun of my brother, calling him the gay one, when in all reality, I'm the gay one. And he looks at me. We were on the way home, and he's like, my brother's got grandma syphilate herpes, which is an inside joke in our family. And I'm like, Dad, I'd more likely get the chance of having it because I'm gay. He goes, oh, you're finally coming out to me? I've known since you were like 4. And I was like, and he's like, I still love you. And like, we'll watch Drag Race together, RuPaul's Drag Race, yeah, and everything. And it felt awesome, like being relieved. And like, I went back to school all better. Like, my family knows, like, there are no bricks on my shoulders anymore. Like, everyone who I care about knows. And I had made a post on Facebook, and it started with, roses are red, clouds are gray, I like men, so yeah, I'm gay. And the thing is, people would text and like, congratulations. Why are you congratulating me? I'm just finally becoming me, but thank you. And my aunt had known for years, she said. And I was like, it's fine. I am fine with being me now. And I went to school feeling all great. And like, that's where my story ends. Like, some people still don't know, and some people still like cold shoulder me, but it's fine. Like, I'm proud of me, which is what everyone has to do. Take that, if you take nothing away from this, be proud of you. that's all I want any of you guys to take. Now I'm gonna cry after my story's over. If you are scared to come out because you're scared of what people are gonna say, or you're scared of your family disowning you, we all go through that. I was scared that my parents were gonna disown me, and my drag mom, Delta, was like, you'll always have a place to live with me. So don't worry, don't be scared, be you because you're beautiful, and never let the world dim your shine. And I was like, I love you. And I told everyone, scared to death, that I wasn't going to be accepted. And I was. And you'll be too. Maybe not by your biological parents or whatever. You will always have a family cheering you on. And if you ever feel like ending it because of that, don't. There's always someone to talk to. Always. And stay true to you. Like, you're important, and being the true version of you is the best version of you you can be. And if you make fun of the closeted gay kid or the out gay kid, you're wrong. They are finally being them, so, like, you are you. Let them be who they are. And just stay awesome, guys. Like, in all reality, you are so perfect. You all deserve the world and all of the stars, and if I could, I'd give you all of them. But you've got to get them for yourself, because every day's a new challenge. And that's all I've got to say, guys. That's my coming out story. And I think it's pretty messed up that only gay people have to come out. But hey, that's what it is. And that's why we have this phenomenal community we do, because we all know what it's like. So love yourself. Love everyone in your community. And overall, stay awesome, guys. I love you. And let's start in this with a quote. So, look at a mountain not as look at the mountain, the hills, not as a boundary or a barrier, but a boost to, okay, I don't like that quote, blah. Let's keep one to pride. Be big, be kind, and go west. Love Nina West, I love all queens, and I love all of you. So stay awesome, stay beautiful, be kind. XOXO, Michael.